Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Critter back bringing you guys another video, and today we're gonna be doing something a little different. I'm gonna be showing you guys my top 5 favorite base locations of all time. I've used these on official, unofficial. It doesn't really matter. Some of them are a little weird to build in because of how the snap points are, but I'll show you what I mean when we get to them. So let's kick this video off with my #1 favorite. I actually just built this on an unofficial server not too long ago. We just got wiped though. It's really hard to raid, especially if you're on official. So you guys want to come to 13.4 lat, 66.5 longitude. As you see on the map, top of the map up here. Once you're there, you go straight down. You'll see like these little crystal things. There it is. Look for this rock. And all you got to do is you come over here and there's a hole. And when you get down in here, you'll see why it's so overpowered. Is because you can breed squid, you can clone golems and shit down here. It's so big. You just got to have enough vacuum chambers and stuff to build. It's flat, as you can see. You can build in here. Yeah, there's not much else to say about this base spot. It does have a cool little perk though if you're trying to defend. If you follow where I'm going up this way, and you come in down back here. I don't know if this is mesh or what this is. It's probably just a hole in the map, and I don't think it's supposed to be here. But I mean, maybe the devs will see it and patch it. But until then, I'm rolling with it. So once you get to this spot, you look around and you can see the texture glitch is weird over here. If you actually just swim into the mesh over here, you can swim squids and shit right onto the mesh to help defense. You don't even have to uncryopod them outside and wait a cryo cooldown. You can just have all your squids ready to go, ready to swim right out of there, and you can wreck someone's day. I mean, hopefully the devs see this, like I said, and they get this patched. But the base spot itself is pretty cool. I hope they don't actually patch the base spot. But with that being said, let's hop over to #2. Alright boys, we're back over here at our second base location, and the way I found this one is by raiding on my unofficial server. The dudes that own this spot messed up and they had their tech Jenny poking through the wall. But this spot's definitely not as OP as the last one I showed you. So once you get to these chords, there's 2 landmarks you gotta look for that I look for. There's a rock right there around like a wide open flat area, and this like line of crystals coming out from the wall here. Like right here, I look for these right here, and then you're just looking for a hole. And like I said, you can use this as a stash spot. Oh, there's a megalodon down here somehow. But it's definitely not as good as the last spot that I've showed you guys. But you can definitely make it into a stash spot, breed PTs, do something down here. Definitely a nice, cool little base spot to have. Especially if you're a smaller tribe, you can stash spot down here. Easy to defend with turrets and shit. Kind of hard to flak run. On my unofficial server, that's how I rated them, was with flak running, because everything's boosted. But on here, I don't know if it's possible. But if you just have a few turrets pointing at this entrance, I think you guys should be able to defend this pretty well, if you're online to defend. So with that being said, let's hop over to #3. Alright boys, our #3 base spot brings us over to the center, my personal favorite map. So I've never actually used this base spot. The only reason I know where this one is at and I know it's buildable in is because I rated this on my official server. And if you guys have watched my previous Wyvern Parasaur combo, that's actually how I found this one. I messed up the game recording, so I never actually got to post that raid, but we got some PT lines out of it, and a cryoed mana, so nothing too big. But it's still a pretty cool base spot in my opinion. So the thing with this base spot is you gotta really memorize the location. You can't like place a marker or something, because if someone sees that, they're probably most likely already scouting these center base locations, and if they see a marker, or some indication that someone's living here, they're gonna not hesitate to raid you, because these bases tend to be pretty juicy. So what you're gonna want to do is come from, the way I memorize how to do it is, if you're coming from the jungle mid, you gotta face this way in the floating island, and then you're looking for like this seaweed looking leafy plant here, and then take a left from there and fly towards this like stringy vine things, and fly at this rock right where I'm at. This pointy rock looks kind of like a tooth, a giant tooth, and then right up in there's a hole. This spot was pretty easy to raid when I did raid the person that lived here, because he had turrets placed weirdly, and I rocket raided it pretty easily. Just be hesitant of that if you're placing turrets or anything in here, or just use it as a stash spot or a backup base. I wouldn't bank on this base spot too much, because you're pretty limited with what you can build in here. You can see you can place foundations, you can place some stuff up here. This is actually where the dude had his hatchery. I don't know how in the hell he hatched stuff up here, but it's still a pretty cool little base spot. Not too many people that I know of know about this. Other than just a stash spot, I don't really see you making this a main base, but with that being said, let's head over to our next spot. Alright, I'm over here at the base location number 4. This is another one that's kind of tricky to memorize, but once you have it down, you have it down pat. Once you come to these chords, the way I remember how to get here is there's a cave opening right here, the artifact cave, and you just take a left and look up, and right up here's the base location. And something you gotta be careful of in this location is, I do know for a fact you take 6 times damage, because I raided a base here, and it was boosted damaged, and I just rocket run it, no problem. So there's actually 2 entrances as well, so you got to make sure you have sufficient defenses at both entrances. But once you're in here, this is basically all as it is, guys. You can build in here, as you can see. And these base locations that I'm showing you guys, you definitely gonna have to get creative with how you guys can build in here. But that's one of the reasons I like these base locations, is I like being creative with my builds and seeing like how much stuff I can cram into here while also having sufficient enough defenses. But if a big tribe pulls up on you guys, you're kind of screwed. So if you have a means of transferring out like a transmitter, or you can make a break with it, I wouldn't even try and defend these base spots unless you know for a fact that you can, because they're not meant to, like I said, main base spot in. It's more for like a smaller tribe's stash spot, maybe a breeding area. But that's up to you guys. If you want to risk it all and have all of your loot in here, go for it. Just make sure you have a backup plan. With that being said, guys, let's hop over to number 5. Alright, I finally made it over here to our number 5 base location. And before I show you guys this one, if you like the content, you want to see more videos of base locations or a second part to Ragnarok and Center, please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll make sure to get those to you guys as quick as possible. So this number 5 base location, you're just going to come under the ice cave. It's a pretty easy one to find. You're just going to fly under this archway. Up here on your left is going to be a ledge, and I wouldn't recommend placing anything on this ledge, because if you're trying to stay hidden and someone sees this and they know about this spot, they're probably going to raid you, because if you haven't been touched yet, they're going to assume you have juicy loot, which I had juicy loot when I got raided, but it's something that happens. You can't avoid it. And you're going to ask how I survived this long in such a small base spot. And like I said, you got to be creative with these base spots. So what I did was I built upwards, and I foundationed as far over as I could go. On official, you won't actually be able to place one here because of the snap points. But on my second story is where I actually had my hatchery, and I used this foundations down below as foundation support. And I had decent sized hatchery for this base location. I had it from this back wall right there, right here, all the way over to this little area right here. And that's where I did my PT breeding and my RGs and stuff. Down below is where I have my crafting area. And up above is where I had my vault storage and all that good stuff, my fridges. And the Indie Forge, if some of you guys are wondering about the Indie Forge, like how I worked around the Indie Forge in such a small base location, is I actually didn't have it in this base location. I had it close, metal spawn close by. It's actually right up here. And I recommend doing this for some of the base spots. Is if you get an RG with decent weight, you should be kicking, because right here's a metal spawn, and it's the snow, so there's a lot more metal spawns nearby. But I placed my metal forge, my Indie Forge, right over here, and it was tucked nicely in this corner. It only got blown up like a few times on my time on official servers, but it's honestly not that big of a deal because you don't need a whole lot of metal. So if you can fill it up a few times in your time being solo, you should be killing it. But like I said, please drop a like on the video, comment if you guys want to see more base locations, make sure to subscribe, and with that being said, catch you guys later.